I have several brothers, but let me tell you a story of one brother. His name is Robert, and he's dead. He died of cancer. He had cancer in his lungs and also his brain. Robert was an older brother of mine. I have 4 brothers. He's the one who's just a little bit older than me. When Robert was a senior in high school, or maybe a little bit after, he got mixed up on drugs. He was a part of the 1960s crowd. And I don't know whether it was angel's dust, LSD, PCP, heroin. I don't know all the details of all the drugs that he took. But his mind, he became mentally ill, right? If you've had drugs touch any member of your family life, you know what it's like to hang around somebody who's mentally, not retarded, but mentally challenged, right? They have problems with their mental facility, and so it destroyed my brother Robert's life. And my mother and dad were divorced, and my dad had to end up taking care of Robert for the last part of his life. For the next 20-something years, my dad took care of my brother Robert. And that's a tremendous impact to everyone. And when Robert would go out and order food in a restaurant, sometimes he had the mental capacity to order the food, and sometimes he didn't. Sometimes you could have a conversation with Robert, and you could talk about life, or he liked to draw. He was an artist. He liked to draw. And sometimes you couldn't. But I'll say this, that you couldn't just look at Robert and tell that he was crazy. You couldn't just do it from looking at him. You actually had to engage him in a conversation. So my dad, he doesn't like to cook. He would always go out to eat. He would take Robert with him, and they would go into restaurants. And they would sit down, and the waitresses would all walk up, and they would ask Robert to order. And then, immediately, they would understand that when he started to talk, they didn't know it by looking at him, but they know once he started to talk, hey, there's something wrong. And then my dad would jump in and order for him. Or, sometimes Robert could actually get the order out, but, you just never really knew if it was going to happen or not. And there was always people in the restaurant that would look at my dad funny, or, if they heard Robert talk, they would make fun of him. You could tell by the looks in their eyes they were ridiculing him. And my dad got used to that over a period of 20 years. He didn't even think twice about it. And I would go eat with him sometimes, and I would notice it. I would notice how people were looking in the room at us, and it didn't bother me. I'm proud of my family, and I I just don't care what people think. But I saw the total loss of the ability to be affected by ridicule in my dad, that it had an impact on me. And so I don't care that you ridicule me. If you think I'm a nut job, wacko, that's not what is important to me. What is important to me is that we get to the truth. What is important to me is that we look at the facts and come to an investigation and find out what really happened, because 9/11 was an incident that was set up, in my opinion, as a psychological attack on the people of the United States, so they could take away our liberties and start these wars, and to consolidate wealth away from the American people and into a global governance situation. Confiscate wealth from the United States and totally destroy the Constitution and put it into other people in the world. And I think that's what's being done today, and we're in the advanced stages of these people's plans. Now, you may think I'm an absolute nutcase after having listened to me, and I'm surprised if anybody even listened to the end. But this is how I think, and I don't claim to have any special knowledge. I don't claim to be a person of advanced intellect that I can come to the truth and you can't. I'm a person sitting on a jury. You are a person sitting on a jury. There are lots of evidence on the internet and in books that you can go read for yourself to come to your own conclusion. The question is, will you take the time to do it, and do you think this is an important topic? That's the question. I don't really care what you think of me, but are we going to let these people take away and destroy our country and take away all our liberties based on what happened in 9/11? And how involved do you want to become? A lot of you think that you can live in your own little world and you not worry about this big stuff, this big picture stuff, and that it will never affect you. I'm sure that the people in Germany, as they were, developing the German machine, thought that, hey, this ain't going to affect me. I have a comfortable life. I have a good job and I make a little bit of money, and I have a good time with my family on nights and weekends. And I don't want to get involved this deep. And besides that, I don't want people thinking I'm an idiot. That's fine. You have the right to do that. But I'm just warning you that in my opinion, that all of this big picture stuff about 9/11 and all this big picture stuff about world governance and all this big picture stuff about politics that are taking away your liberties, that eventually it will get down to where it affects you. And it will destroy your life that you're living in that's so comfortable right now as you watch your sports on TV and your American Idol and your America's Funniest Home Videos. That eventually it's going to come down and it's going to affect you big time. And that if we all don't stand up and just, not to agree with one another, but have an attitude of, I want to seek the truth. I want to seek the truth, even if it takes me to places that I despise. Many of you may love George Bush. Many of you may love the Republican Party. And I would ask you to please love the truth more than you love the Republican Party. Please love the truth more. Wherever the truth takes you, it may take you to places that you cannot not imagine, but never be afraid to follow the truth. I don't want anything from you. I don't want your money. I don't want to convince you of anything. I want you to have an open mind and understand the importance of seeking the truth. That's what I want from you. And also, if I've made any mistakes in my video, I want you to point that out. Point it out and say, hey, you dumbass, you talk about this and this, and here's what could have accounted for that. Don't you know? I'm open to that. Anyway, that's what I got to say. I don't know how long these videos are going to be. I'm going to try to, I have to do all this editing work at the end, and I try to put in like little video clips that make my point. That's going to take me probably the rest of the day. But it's worth it for me to have these series of videos so that I can explain my opinion. I hope God blesses every one of you out there. We live in very interesting times, and I just want us to hold up the truth and righteously seek it. God bless every one of you, and take care.